not a playbook. All proceeds go to charity, so please do not leave now. Sit where you are. When we're finished and I say, go, then please rush to the table and buy your own copy. And in fact, buy 5 for friends and family, because everyone's going to love it, right? And it's a super good read. And you'll see, because I've pulled loads of quotes from it in order to ask questions. So listen, a quick show of hands before we start. Who works at a brand here? All right. Who works at a production company? 2 whole people. That's unusual. Who's independent these days? Aha, that makes a change. And who works at an agency? All you people will soon be independent. I'm just kidding. I am so kidding. I'm kidding. I used to work at Wieden & Kennedy back in the day. I'm kidding. But it's just interesting to see who's in the room in order to help the writers and myself talk about, what we've learnt and why it's not a playbook. Right? So I want to welcome to the stage the writers, the authors of this book. It's an absolute delight that one of them went home and actually put his suit on, and the other one couldn't be asked. So from one extreme to the other, it's pretty exciting. They're here somewhere in the room. I want to welcome, please, one of the co-founders of WeTransfer. It's Damian Bradfield, and it's the founder of strategy company Hella. It's Dre. I stumbled because I was going to say Andre, but I've gone with Dre. It's Andreas, but it is Dre Tzortzis. Please make them feel really welcome. Brilliant. I'm loving what you brought.
Yeah, we can put on what we brought after.
Do you want to watch it before? Because it's quite comedy.
Is it?
Or do you want to do it after?
Yeah,
what do you
then
prefer?
We gotta plug in
it's not
stuff.
comedy at all. It's pretty...
It's we'll pop it on at the end. It's all right.
Nobody...
Yeah.
So once we've finished talking, you've had your question and answer session, and we've watched that, then you can go and get a book. All right? There are steps to this process. It's nice to wait for good things. Folks, thank you. Congratulations on writing a book. Why does the world need another business book? I didn't know that we needed another one. What up with that? Damian, talk us through it, because apparently I'm with your mother, and there was somebody else. Oh, and Penguin. Penguin and your mother.
Yeah, it should be on.
Okay, let me do it.
You want to hear it?
No, it will. Someone from sound.
This one works.
Oh yeah, please, because it's way above my pay grade.
Okay,
we can share. It's going to be fine. Otherwise, we'll shout.
Just one.
So apparently, Penguin and your mother, and now me, asked, "What up? Why the need for another business book in this world?"
You don't need one. You shouldn't buy it. We should just go. Let's go to the pub.
Perfect.
But this isn't a business book. What we tried very hard to do was actually, Penguin rejected it, so let's be honest. They said the world doesn't need another book. My mum said, yeah, brilliant. Doesn't everybody write books nowadays? And we ignored both of them and published it anyway. But the intention with this book is that it's a lot of people would tell me with glee that they've read it in 40 minutes. Yeah, it
took me about 57.
There you go. It's a toilet read.
It's not. It's way longer. I don't know how long you spend in your toilet, but it's
40 minutes.
It's a pretty intense toilet read, I have to say. You've got something going on structurally wrong with your bowels, if this is your toilet read. But sure.
If we can just stay on that topic.
Okay. I will.
So my bowels.
Okay, great.
It's fibre.
Oh.
It's a short read. We wanted it to be. It's paperback. The intention was you can flick through it, make notes, and it fits sort of in your back pocket. So it's not a stuffy business book, and it's deliberately called not a playbook because it isn't a book telling you what to do. It's about telling you how to think or telling you to find space. And I think we need that.
And it is beautifully designed as well. So tell us
The
about the
writing's
publishing.
terrible.
The writing
The
is
design is gorgeous.
the writing is pretty average, I've got to say. I've read some books in my life. No, it's great. It flows
How
very
many?
easily. I've read more than 7 and less than 42,000. So somewhere in the middle there. But it is beautifully designed as well as written. Tell us about the publishing and about the design.
So I published the book. I set up a little company to publish this one and one other book.
So for all those self-publishers out there, did you set up your own publishing house? Has anybody written their own book? Has anybody? Oh, there are hands up in the audience. I love that. Good for you. It's not easy.
It's quite easy to set up a publishing company if you've got one
Is
book.
it? Okay.
Everyone's got a publishing company, so that's easy. No, so I set it up because the turnaround on publishing is crazy. So Penguin would have printed it, but it would take 2 years. So in this book, WeTransfer was going through a period of change. We sold the company last year. I wanted this to come out within a window so that it was still relevant because we knew that the company would change. So there was no choice actually to print it ourselves. And you know how it goes. And the inside cover, actually, the best, well, not the best part, of course.
I can hold it.
Okay, show them the inside, Dre.
Yeah.
On the inside, there's this strange sort of mycelium design. And basically, this is the interconnectivity of the WeTransfer sort of company. But it's all the dots. And basically, so many of the things that happen in WeTransfer can pinpoint back to a relationship that probably started 15 years ago through somebody that we met on the journey. And the design for the book, long story, this is the theme. The design for the book is done by this guy called Chris Pida or Pida. He's friends with another guy called Chris, who's friends with a person called Louisa. And Louisa used to work for Bernstein.
Is everybody following this?
And I know her through a stylist called Harris Elliott, who was one of the first guys that helped us with music on WeTransfer.
Right.
And it's this
Serendipity.
It's a very important part of the process of WeTransfer, I think. And we were just very lucky we found great people willing to put in time. And
So how did you two start working together? Because this book isn't the first time that you've worked together. Is that right, Dre?
Yeah, no, we met in Venice Beach a couple of years ago. This is before I moved to Amsterdam. So we were introduced by a mutual friend. I worked at Red Bull for many years, and so one of our Red Bull colleagues ended up going to work for Damian in Venice, and then we met and we connected all right, I guess, you know.
Oh.
It was fine, you know.
No bromance then.
Well, I mean, bromance. It was brief. It was hurried, and then he moved back to Amsterdam, and then I moved to Amsterdam, and he put us up. Actually, my wife and my 3 boys who are running around or hiding in the back there. He put us up for a week, and in exchange, I had to write this book for him.
Wow.
So that's pretty cut and dry.
Nothing's free in this
that's
world.
How it goes. Well, we actually had a really nice. We had coffee once at the Amstelveld, and he said, I want to write a book called How to Win an Oscar. And I said, that's an amazing title, and I will happily read any kind of version of that.
So talk me through why it's not called that.
Because of lawyers. So Damian paid a bunch of guys in the UK to tell us that we would probably be sued, which is kind of what we would have assumed anyway, but we got confirmation that we maybe
that's
would
why the
get
book is
sued.
very thin.
That's it. It's exactly.
But it didn't start out like this, did it? So you were
No.
already writing a form of this book. You got involved and went, fuck off. And then changed. So talk about that, because I'm fascinated why that pivot and how that pivot came about.
Well, at the beginning, I was trying to channel his voice, and Damian's voice is soft. And it's also, but when he speaks, he drops gems. Wait for it, it's coming. And I knew that it was going to be, hard to channel his voice, but I thought I could do it. You know, I'd never ghostwritten or done anything like that, but you know, I'd worked at Red Bull, I'd worked at Apple. I was a big fan of brands. I came here to kind of start my own brand consultancy and really kind of get into the idea of what a brand is and how it kind of takes up residency in somebody's mind and the work and the effort they do to build emotional connections. And so I was a huge fan of WeTransfer. I'm sure all of you guys were as well. I'm sure that's at least one or two of the reasons that you came here. I had put them in my decks at Red Bull. I had put them in my decks at Apple as great, great references. It seemed that they were always doing a really, really interesting collaboration or bringing an artist to light that I'd never heard of. And I thought any chance I get to really kind of understand the process of how this came about, I should jump on. And so that's what I offered it to read the book. And then like 4 weeks later, he texted me. He's like, actually, can you just like write it and I can pay you, you know? And I was like, yeah, that's cool, you know? So
that's not how it went.
That's
Just made
totally
that
how
shit
it
up.
went. It was a WhatsApp. It was like, I can pay you. I was in Vienna.
We have that on
Anyway,
WhatsApp?
What's that? Sorry. But actually, you
rubbish.
didn't ask this question.
No,
you were
but
actually
sure,
asking
but
about the. No, you were asking about the transition. So I
did ask how
We
it came
scripted the
about.
whole
So
evening.
basically, he's here by default. You wrote the thing.
Yes.
So it's all about you.
Yes, exactly. Which
Okay.
is what I was hoping we'd get to eventually.
We will
but I'm
get to
very
that.
happy
We'll
that
get
we're
to,
okay.
but we're already there. So how did it pivot? That's why did it go from what you originally were hoping or attempting, let's say, and why did it pivot and how did it change?
Well, you read what I wrote, and then you called me up.
And said this is rubbish.
Yeah, kind of.
Right.
Well, kind of, right? Well, you tell the story, man. What are you talking about?
He's just talking shit.
It's not true. All right, listen, we
No,
didn't
I'll tell the
align our
truth.
scripts, but
So
go
it
ahead.
started off, I was going to write it,
Yeah.
and then it was rubbish. And I said, this is just like some business book where somebody's telling this story that everyone's heard 1,000 times, and it felt too narcissistic or whatever. So I said, I think it'd be better if we could do it together, and we go back and forth on it. Yeah. And then, what Andreas did really, really well, and I mean, I'll give him some credit here, because I might have a soft voice, but he doesn't sell himself well at all. It's really frustrating. He managed to pull stuff out of me that I don't think I would have put into the book. So it became a sort of journalistic exercise, and he doesn't say that he's a journalist, he sees himself as a writer. He's a journalist by background, and what he was really good at was going, okay, but then what, and how, and why? And that actually came to this sort of story that was a back and forth that I thought you created because it was this sort of journalistic approach that you took to
And writing, and as soon as I switched to that, like the writing freed up, and it just became so much easier to write about it because it became kind of an inquiry into the background of this brand and the way he thought about things, but also kind of looking at the landscape in which it was growing up in. So, it was really
but what
helpful.
I was really trying to get to, but
Oh, really?
you know, but you do
I thought that
you,
was a
it's
great
completely
answer.
fine. No, it was great. No, but and what I was interested in was the fact that you did a lot of interviews. You know, you brought in a lot of interviews and a lot of comment and commentary from other people who have worked with WeTransfer or WePresent. What did that bring the book? What did that bring you? What did you learn from that in the research?
I mean, everything. Like, context is everything, and you can't just trust the one voice. And so it was incredibly important for me to understand not just how he thought of things, but how the people he surrounded himself with reacted to that, and what they felt in terms of how it was to work at this brand where, you know, I mean, my friend Matt's here, we met at Red Bull. Red Bull, there's a lot of brands out there that are actually incredibly empowering in this regard. They hire people and they just let them do stuff, you know, and come up with things and fail. And WeTransfer was one of those brands as well. And so it was really, really important for me to understand the other's perspective on that and how that, you know, how empowered they felt or what they felt their contribution to growing this was. Because, I mean, Damian would be the first person to say that he is not WeTransfer. WeTransfer is actually the sum of the people who work at the time.
Does anybody not quite know what WeTransfer is? No shame, no judgment. Or We Present. Does everybody know? Put your hand up if you don't quite know what We Present is.
Shall I tell you, Kerrie?
Yeah, because I don't know. There's a hand up. Dre's son doesn't know. He put his hand up. Thank you. Thank you for being honest. You and me, love. We're all going to assume that we all know what WeTransfer and We Present is. What I would love to know, because you define it in the book that's disappeared, it's been nicked already, is what is a brand to you? What do you mean when you talk about a brand?
I mean, it's evolved, so I don't know what one is today. I know what WeTransfer was and how it came about, but I think there's this fixation today on trying to create brands that seem to be wrapped up in identity, and it has nothing to do with that. That's it's so changeable. It doesn't make any difference today. You can change the identity of a brand in and out quite rapidly, but the thing that you can't change is the team. And for me, the brand, in sort of dissecting what WeTransfer was all about, it became really clear that it wasn't just about the group of people that were empowered to think creatively and take responsibility and to take risk, that enabled the brand to have a certain attitude and behavior and perception. And I don't know how to encapsulate that in like a quirky little sentence, but it's, without sounding too cliched, it is just the people.
So for Dre's son and I, just give us a quick sort of summary of what WeTransfer was or is to you as a brand, and the difference between that and We Present.
So WeTransfer is a file sharing business that was all about generosity. The thing that we did really well, and it was also a massive Achilles heel, is that we always focus on everybody else. So the reason the interviews in the book are important is because we were never good at telling our own story. We always went to other people to tell our story for us. We gave them free media so that they would like us, and it was always about focusing on the other and never about us. So as a brand, it was incredibly generous. We Present is the output of that generosity. So We Present came because we gave wallpapers or advertising away for free, and then eventually we built this platform that would host the content and the stories of those artists from the wallpapers. And it's now, I mean, it's 3.5 million readers a month. It's probably the most respected arts and designs platform on the internet, but still no one knows about it. It's a strange brand experience that isn't very well branded.
Good to know. Do you have a different perspective on what a brand is, or has Damian pretty much summarized it for you?
I think it's to me, it's always about the emotions it evokes in you, and I do agree. I think the term itself has been bandied about to the point where it can mean anything from Patagonia to a blockchain company logo designed on Canva. Sorry, Tom, but not yours, obviously. But I feel like it's at its essence, look, these are companies that are trying to sell us stuff, and some of them manage to build products that aren't just really wonderful, that we really like and we want to buy and we want in our lives, but they manage to also build products that create fans and create people loyal to it. And in the best case, I find that those are companies that also elevate the people who buy those products and champion them and give them a voice and bring them along. When Damian and I were talking about this book at the end, we were talking about the idea of a lowercase b brand as opposed to a big B brand or a capital B, which like seeks ubiquity, your Airbnbs, your Coca-Colas. And I think for me, that is a incredibly big nuance and an incredibly important one, because, WeTransfer was, in its essence, just a really boring SaaS company, a file sharing service. but somehow the people it attracted, the intention with which it was designed, attracted creative people. And then those creative people were elevated on the platform, on the wallpapers, like Damian just said. And WeTransfer never abandoned them. You know, they never like, you know, tried different product features or launches that would get like, you know, the entrepreneur set or really charged towards enterprise software, anything like that. Maybe it would have been better in some regards, right, in retrospect. But I think it's really unique because people have like a real tangible feeling when they hear WeTransfer. And you can almost, it managed to accomplish this, and we write about it in the book, like Apple did. It became a shorthand for creativity. If you use WeTransfer, you were likely in the creative space. That's an incredible accomplishment for a company. So,
you start with a chapter on longevity, and I paraphrase, but basically it's about why it's essential for brands to start with an internal culture and a belief system that builds for the long term, and it pushes for a bigger vision. What do you mean by that? And how can other brands or companies do that? Where do you start?
I mean, not with KPIs and crap like that. That's, you need to be trying to push and build something that's maybe for 10 years or for 100 years from now, even if you don't reach it. I mean, WeTransfer is sold, so we didn't reach that either, but the projects that we were getting involved with, some of them were, you know, ridiculous, were never going to be within our even lifespan. We were trying to put, you know, storage in space. It was never going to be achieved in that time I was working there, but the dot on the horizon was always much, much further out than 1 year or 3 months.
But the thing about brands these days, you know, the average CMO tenure is 3 years. So, you know, almost at the get-go, there's no view of longevity because people are looking too often to build a brand in their own image, as it were. I mean, I'm speaking incredibly broadly, but you know, they themselves think they're going to be there for approximately 3 years. How do you build for longevity unless you're sticking around?
That's the same everywhere. I mean, in politics, it's the same. If no one is going to put anything into place and think beyond themselves, then we won't get anywhere. I mean, that's part of the reason we're not getting anywhere.
It's planting trees, isn't it?
Yeah.
Planting trees from saplings.
Yeah, there isn't, we've got to a point in society where there isn't actually prestige in thinking about the future generation. It's all about me now. And I have no trust and belief that actually tomorrow is going to be a good day, so I might as well try and take it today. It's a real societal issue, not just in branding and marketing.
And you talk about intent and intention. You know, there's a whole chapter on intention, which was, you know, I found fascinating. That you were, you mentioned the charity that you established, the Supporting Act charity, but you also said, don't build for a customer base, build for a community with an intention beyond profitability. And you talked about narrative. Can you expand on that?
Yeah, that was an easy line to write because they, I think what WeTransfer did quite well was they were born, they saw a market opportunity and they built a file sharing service that hadn't existed until that point. It was mega upload, it was you send it, it was super sketchy. It felt very like, you know, pornography, piracy, hubs, and that sort of a thing. And I feel like they went in it with a design mentality. They actually, you guys didn't have a software person, really, not in the not a real one, right? And like not in the sense that we have today, but also not in your founding team. Because I remember asking him like, okay, which one of you guys was the tech guy? And he was like, none of us, you know? And it was just kind of like how rare, and also back then, how rare that was. It was 2008, right? And you have to think of this time. That's actually what Damian does really beautifully, is he kind of always he was able to bring me back in this time, which I went through as well, where, you know, the internet was just really kind of starting. It was really exciting, and you know, everyone was out to change the world. And I think that, you know, the intention from the outset with WeTransfer was to build a product that their fellow creatives would like, and which was easy, and which was rooted in trust, and which wasn't something about like, you know, how do we actually monetize this quickly, and how do we get people into subscriptions quickly, and, you know, can we throttle their download speeds? And, you know, you guys wanted venture capital money. Talk about that, actually, because I was like,
Damian.
You guys are so cool. You guys never wanted venture capital money. He's like, we wanted venture capital money, man. You know, we wanted to be unicorns too, you know, but you didn't. You said no. Why? Why, Damian?
They said no.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah, no, we wanted it bad. We were broke.
So why did they not want to invest? Why did they not want to, you know, invest?
I mean, you do have to think back, because it's 2009, 2010. Barack Obama is just in power. It was a very different time, and it was all about engineering, right? UX didn't even really exist back then. So design was very, very, very low on the Craigslist. Was like a website that people loved. I mean, design was just not being thought about for 1 second. And we only understood design. So anytime we go and speak to a VC, they'd be, literally, as Dre would say, who's the engineer here? And we'd be like, yeah, Dave. He sort of taught himself. He used to be a plumber. He's fucking brilliant, though. And then we would go and see Dropbox, and Dropbox literally go, so what's your background? Nalden never even finished school. Bust, I don't even know, went to school. And it was like, oh, okay, you guys not only don't have
are all
any
feral.
education, but you're not engineers, nothing. It's just, there's no value in you. So, and a very important factor, Amsterdam wasn't a very cool place for tech. There was not a lot happening here. Adyen hadn't started. Booking.com was just starting. So this wasn't seen as a tech hub, though.
That didn't start until like 2010-ish.
The next web was the biggest sort of tech thing coming out of Amsterdam. So we just weren't known. It wasn't taken seriously.
I want to talk about the charity that you set up. Tell us about that, because... Well, why? Why set up a charity? Why was that so important to you? You know, and it goes back to intention, of course, and intention of the brand. So how does that fulfill your, search for purpose?
I don't know if it's fulfilled it, but artists need two things, media and money. That's it. We gave them media already. We had some of that, so we could give that away. In the early days, we didn't have money. And then we got a bit of money, so then we give it away. And
the charity, because not everyone will know what the charity does. It's about unconditional financing for artists, basically, isn't it?
Yeah. So we used to take 1% of revenue from WeTransfer, and that revenue basically went into a pot. We took artists and community applications, and then we would have this is very important, an independent team of jurors. So if any of you would like to be a juror, every year we need 2 rounds. We always need new, fresh blood to come in and have a look at some of the applications. And the independent jury basically then selects a bunch of artists that we then give money to. And it's not sexy. So even though I quite like the pretty stuff, this stuff is absolutely not pretty at all. The money mostly goes into paying for operational stuff for artists or for other grants, organizations, charities. So it's hard work because we don't have anything physical. We can't say, hey, at the end of the year, here's £1 million, and, you know, it paid for this building or this sculpture. It paid for groceries, it paid for rent, it paid for all the unglamorous stuff, but the critical stuff. And we spent 2 years researching what artists wanted, what they needed, and this is the most important thing. Free money.
Yeah. And they can spend it on what they want, right?
Yeah,
they could spend it on any
drugs.
They could spend it on bananas, drugs, and sex, basically.
It's got to be shared. That's the only deal.
Oh, the deal was sharing it. There we go. But the applications are still open, so artists can apply until when?
Literally the end of this week.
Oh, right. Okay. So tomorrow then. Good luck. With those applications. No, but it's interesting because, you know, you're giving money, or WeTransfer is giving money. The charity, though, is giving money, right? And you're trusting an artist to use that money wisely. And there's a lot in the book, again, about trust, you know, relating to, well, all sorts of roots through what trust is. Trusting yourself when it comes to instinct, trusting others when it comes to a team, trusting your artists to, I don't know, do whatever, behave honorably, I don't know, But trust is a massive part of the heart of the book. And I think it's tied super closely to authenticity. Tell us.
I was just going to say it was the longest chapter in the book, and I had to cut it down a number of different times. But I feel the structure of the book, by the way, is directly related to artistry, because the reason we structured the book the way we did is because writing the story in a linear way was very boring. I couldn't think of other ways to go in until we kind of hit upon the idea of looking at the qualities of an artist that made the best artists. So intention, the intentionality of an artist, the faith artists have in their work or in the process of their work, trust with their audience, that their audience will accept that, and then serendipity as well. And to me, it was... and it's an incredibly current topic, by the way. Like, none of this stuff is don't look back at 15 years of WeTransfer and think this is kind of a eulogy on it. It's absolutely not. Creators, micro-influencers in the marketing world are more important than ever. There's a whole generation now of people who work at major companies and brands, trying to figure out how much to give of their brand to these guys and gals who've built up massive followings on social media and use them as their spokesmen and to gain access to their audiences. So this is like a very current topic, and WeTransfer did it in a very different way. They absolutely in a way that's very current now, which is they basically gave money to artists and didn't ask for anything in response. They didn't even have brand guidelines, right? They didn't say, oh, make sure that you flash up the logo when you deliver this piece. Or what was it that Riz Ahmed said? He said that this was the night before. It's in the book, so we're kind of giving away the whole thing, honestly. But it's all right. It's a toilet read, right? That's what we've established. So,
I'd say it's more of a bath read.
A bath read. Yes, of course. So
it's a what?
Bath read.
Do the Riz quote, because he is
the Riz
quote.
The world. Shit, that wasn't the one I was gonna use. But he talks about the night before the Oscar ceremony. They had a party in the Hollywood Hills. I didn't know him back then, so I wasn't invited. You guys probably weren't either, were you? Unless you were. But it seemed like an incredibly special gathering, and he gave a talk before they ended up winning the Oscar. And he said that, at no point, at every point, he expected an email from WeTransfer saying, hey, could you maybe show one of your characters sending a file, and it becomes doubly funny when you understand that the film was about his reckoning with racism in post-Brexit Britain, and it's all about kind of a paramilitary force coming in and rounding up people of Muslim origin. So it was like this, he was kind of cringing just waiting for it, and that email, that call absolutely never came. So WeTransfer is giving them freedom. They were giving them freedom to tell their story, they were giving them support, and they were giving them a platform. And this bit them in the butt a couple of times because, people couldn't connect the dots back, And I think this is like kind of a little bit of the tension. I always joke with Damian that it's really funny that he wanted to write a book about how to win an Oscar and all these amazing things that WeTransfer did and not make a Super Bowl ad instead. You know what I mean? But, you're all here. You'll hopefully read it and buy it, so spread the word. I feel it's a real current idea, and they pioneered it, and they did a great job with it. Why are you smiling, man? Do you agree, or does it?
You didn't finish the Riz thing.
All right, you finish it then. Well, what do you? What
Can we? I tell you what. Let me just.
Is it getting boring? Kerrie's bored.
I'm so fuck bored. No, we're going to come back to the Oscars, and we'll come back to that. No, it's fine, but we can tie it back at the end, because I want to talk more before we get into Riz Ahmed, who I adore. So all props to you folks. But I want to talk about bravery in artists, because what you've said is be Björk, not Taylor Swift. Now, if you've got a choice of being either, go team, because, either way, it's fantastic, right? But why not be Taylor Swift?
I know you can 100% be Taylor Swift if you've got bad taste.
It was your choice.
No, the point is more, I respect Taylor. I mean, I don't like her music, but she's incredible. I mean, clearly a powerhouse, clearly far more successful than all of us combined, times 10. But our choice wasn't to go for the mainstream. Our choice, the things that drive me, our team, I think probably half of you here, certainly Andreas, was for those artists that maybe are a little bit more obscure or have to work a little bit harder. And the thing I love about Björk or Bowie or someone is that they're not, it's not about a singular skill. They're super interested in fashion, film,
they're
music,
hyphenated.
Everything. And they are more than willing to change, to morph into something else continuously. And it's also really attractive.
Yeah, and it's the artists admired by artists, isn't it? This is something that came up, that you wanted to be the sort of artist that was admired by artists, effectively. So you want to be a Bowie or a can't even think, David Lynch or an Ed Sheeran. That's a curveball. That's a curveball, and it's not on my list.
No,
the name didn't come up in the book.
No, it's not Ed Sheeran, but and I think that's the same in life. I think for me at least, I think the exciting part is to.
But it's colouring outside the lines.
I'm
which
boring
is,
Kerrie all
yeah,
the time.
No, you're not.
No, you carry on.
No, it's just my way. I don't usually get this much flack from people on the panel.
Sorry.
No, it's all gorgeous. But I love the choice there, that you want to be Björk. You're suggesting that you don't have to go for Taylor Swiftness. You can go for Björkness. And there is majesty and idiosyncrasy in becoming that kind of a brand. I want to know why that is appealing to you both.
Okay, so firstly, if you're broke, you can't afford Taylor Swift. So if you want
you can't afford Björk, can you?
Yeah, yes, you can, 100%.
Okay.
By being real and then joining the dots around Björk. So the reason I brought up that mycelium drawing in the beginning is because we had this strange friend. I'm going to bore you with some names again, but this guy Harris Reed was quite influential for me in whole music, and he's the reason that Riz eventually came on the platform. Harris was just a friend who's a stylist in London, but he was connected to Mark Ronson. He was connected to Gorillaz. So by Harris using WeTransfer and sending files to Gorillaz, suddenly we're on Gorillaz' radar. Taylor's never going to use fucking WeTransfer. There's like 10 other
She's
people.
got a fleet of staff to do it for her.
Björk is still using WeTransfer.
Right.
Prince would use WeTransfer. These people that were still...
he's dead, right?
Yeah. Did I say he would?
All right.
But he had his hands in the mud.
Yeah.
He's still doing work. And you don't need money for that. You need patience.
Thoughts?
Yeah, agreed. So, I agree. I think it's just he started the company, so or he was one of the founders of the company, so he gets to pick.
Yeah, but it's not about. Well, I'm not asking you about in relation to WeTransfer.
Sure.
I'm asking you in relation to your world of brands and your experience with the work that you've done with the Red Bulls of the world, the Apples of the world.
Yes. Red Bulls of the world.
See, I'd say Red Bull was a Björk.
Red Bull is a Björk. Red Bull was involved in snowboarding in the early 90s, late 80s. Red Bull was in skating when no brand was in skating. Red Bull takes a year before they sign an athlete. They monitor the athlete for a year. They talk to them, they have conversations, they invest in relationships. It's all about trust and relationships and understanding what you get out of it. Apple was the opposite. You know, we would commission these amazing, beautiful young artists to make things for our stores. I worked in Apple retail, to make things for our stores or to teach in our stores. And we would use 5% of what they produced for us. And sometimes we'd have to cancel the projects, you know? So it was an extractive relationship, which is ironic given its reputation, the brand's reputation and the brand's origin. Today, you win by being Red Bull and not by being Apple, because today, our landscape is so fractured, our consumption, our media is so fractured, that I'm sure most of you know that fandoms, like 1,000 true fans, that idea is that's where you win. So why not build up the authentic relationship with the Bjork of tomorrow now? And maybe it's just Bjork of tomorrow and her crew, and that's it, but that's enough. You know, that's enough for the brand to grow and to be authentic and real in that one space.
So what is it about non-conformity, you know, being a maverick, being a non-conformist, not following a playbook? You know, what is it about, colouring outside the lines? How do you, I mean, it feeds actually into the next thing, which is about trust and authenticity as well. How do you get your team or the company you're working at? How do you, if that's how you see the world, how do you make that change? How do you take people with you?
Super great question. And actually, he should talk about how they hired at WeTransfer, because it was quite unconventional, right? They would bring people into roles that had no experience in that role before.
Like the tech guy.
Right, like the tech guy, or like the guy who's the music promoter in Amsterdam, right? And then, or the club promoter, and then he was the head of music, and you send him to America with a credit card and said, "Find us some cool bands." Was that it?
What's wrong with that? if you're broke, I mean, what do you do?
No, but I think this is really interesting, because people want to work at those companies and they want to stay at those companies. And you know, the biggest companies in the world have a churn like you wouldn't believe when it comes to young talent, and especially creative talent. And it's because they, you know, quite frankly, the ideas that they propose or that they want to put forth in the world, they're met by a bunch of different gatekeepers. And I think this is like the biggest affliction if we look at why companies are having such a difficult time hiring things these days. They pay a lot of lip service to the idea of culture, but culture is really just hiring people that want to contribute to the idea and that feel good about this company and its mission, and then letting them kind of run free with it. And I think you guys did that well. Why were you so unconventional with it?
She asked the questions.
Sorry. Kerrie, can you ask Damian?
Tell me again what it was. What was the question? Because I'd switched off.
Hold on. You just
No, I think I'm going to just talk about something else. And something you said that it just made me think that I think is really important is that it was, of course, it sounds crazy if you say, yeah, Lucas was just sent off to go and find some cool bands. But the beautiful thing about a startup, the thing that I really missed when WeTransfer got to like 300 employees, was that energy of just everybody's an entrepreneur, everybody has permission, everybody can go and just do something, and it's okay to fail, right? That's something that I loved about advertising agencies when I first started, is the permission you had to fuck up was huge, but the risk was also really, really big, and some people that were really, really good at it got paid really, really well. The reason there's no money in advertising is because there's no risk anymore. It all got completely democratized. So no one's getting paid well because no one's doing any great work because they're not given permission to take massive risk. And I loved that about the early days of WeTransfer, was that, yeah, we did some really stupid things, but we did quite a few things quite well. But I think half the reason that people are suffering from burnout and depression and stuff today is this lack of control, which is such a big issue. If you're middle management in a company that's just helping you climb a ladder to somewhere else, so you can be middle management.
So how do those, well, how does anyone, but how do those middle management managers emphasize, how do you emphasize trust in people or in ideas above and beyond guaranteed
It's a gift.
outcome?
You can only gift it. When you were talking about the foundation, we hear this a lot, that somebody would say, so you just give money to somebody and you don't ask them where it's going. Well, there are a lot of people that are very well paid, probably some of you here, that I don't know what the fuck you do every month, but you probably just get given money and half the time you're not even working.
Yeah, we know who you are.
No one's really checking up on it, right? I mean, there are some people I know that are holding down 2 jobs right now because they're working from home and just winging it. I mean, we give money
I told
to
you that
employees.
in confidence.
We give money to employees and we don't ask that much back in return. You just got to show up, do a PowerPoint, to pretend to be on a conference call where you're talking to your mum. Well, that sort of crap, and it's okay. But trust is a gift, and you have to be willing to give it. And sometimes it's going to go wrong, and you will give it to somebody who. We have plenty of cases where we've given money out and we don't know where they are in the world or what they've done with it at all. But it's probably 5%. Yeah, it's okay.
It's okay because the rules of the game were, it's not unrequited, that's not quite the right word, it's unconditional, yeah. And so the rules of the game were thus, and so it is okay, I guess.
Yeah, and what Andreas is getting at with Riz is actually when you don't ask an artist something in return, when you're not saying, I'm going to give you this money, but you've got to give me 10 social media posts, and you've got to show up here on a Tuesday, and I need you to have your face on this bottle, which everybody detests. When you don't ask for anything, you just go, here's the money. The response is really weird.
So how do you avoid the missteps? Because there are always going to be missteps. Unfortunately, there are always some people who you let down and some people who let you down, or a company who lets you down. How do you work against the missteps? Ideas?
I mean, I think Damian would say, and this was actually one of the interesting tensions in writing the book. We didn't have many, but some of them were like, I wanted to talk about the failures when that didn't go right, a lot more. We did get one in the end, but I think what WeTransfer found, and I think what a lot of companies that take these steps or that work with creative collaborators, that work with artists find, is that when you place that much trust in somebody, they are going to work doubly hard to promote the work that they've produced. And number one. And number two, I think it's just, the work that the company has to do before they ever reach out to that artist is get their own kind of alignment right. Like, are we is this truly the right person for us? Is this truly the person that we can help lift up and that we benefit from as well, because the connection is authentic. And I think that is the hardest tension to manage at a massive company. And I got around it at Apple by just doing pilots. And some of those pilots, most of those pilots have never seen the light of day. But I mean, I think this is like, this is, there is always, at big companies, there's always money there's always money at the banana stand. There's always money to kind of, to try things out. So it becomes on you, it's on you yourself to get the team together, to ask for the money, to plan it out, and to try it. And if it works, everyone wants to jump on it. Everyone does.
So when have you lost faith before? Either in a company, people, yourself?
Talk about salt, man. Come on. It still burns, doesn't it, a little bit?
Well, they texted me today, funnily enough.
Oh, did they? All right. Explain salt.
Okay, so that was, do you know this band Salt? It's this UK jazz collective, Clio Soul, Inflow. Like for me, this was like the
Who
best.
was really impressed and said, "Oh my God,
Yeah,
there she is"?
Yeah, this was like my thing. This was going to be, bye. I've done this and I'm out of here. And you don't get a phone call like this very often. So Inflow, who is this legendary UK producer, pretty much produced, everything that's from Little Sims to Adele in the last 5 years. Get a phone call from this guy at Salt to say, we want to do something with WeTransfer. We use you all the time. And they'd done this weird drops with us. So they suddenly upload some music and they just drop it on WeTransfer with a link and it had blown up. But they said, I have to give you the date because this is quite important. It was like March 23rd. They said, we're going to do a live show.
Which year, sorry? 20?
Oh, I don't know. 2022?
Oh, okay.
I think it was 22, yeah, the first one. Yeah.
It's like March 23rd, and for the first time ever, and Salt's never been seen, so no one knew who Salt was, right? It was sort of like this mystery band, but we sort of knew it was Little Sims and stuff. We're going to do a live show, and we want you to do it with us. I was like, fuck me, this is ridiculous. And we need £1 million. It's 700,000, I think. Fuckload. More than we'd ever spent on music ever before. And it's going to happen on April Fool's Day. And I was like, that's ridiculous. No one's going to do that. Who's going to give you that sort of money? Anyway, we gave them the money. The show never happened. The show still carried on never happening, even though there were promises that it was going to happen. It then turned into a video, which they just shot and sent me the rough to. They didn't invite me to it. Well, they did, but it was like, it's tomorrow. Can you come to London? It's like, what the fuck? It's 10 p.m. And to this day, I've never seen anything from them. We were threatening back and forth, legal action, the rest of it. And I was like, you know what? This is such bad karma. Keep it. Do your thing. I don't want anything to do with you ever again. And then they did a live show. And they went off and then pulled off a live show and then called me up and said, the live show's happening this weekend. Do you want to come? It's like, fuck no. Never. And everyone would say, are you serious? You're not going to go? Like, never. Dead to me. Dead.
So that burned.
Yeah, so that's not my faith story. The real faith story. Yeah, no, that one really hurt. That's
I'm so glad that we've brought the audience down on that. I'm really now. There's a reason why we avoid all these lack of faith stories. I'm guessing. What I want to touch on while we're in a bad mood is WeTransfer was sold and then went through a revamp. Good timing. What are your thoughts on that?
So it happened last summer. So last summer it was pretty bad. It was. The company's called Bending Spoons. It's an Italian company. They are a product company, but really they're a private equity company. And it was the fastest deal I've ever seen. From the first conversation to closing money on the bank, 4 weeks. Like that, fucking pocket money doesn't get paid in that time. This was the craziest transaction I've ever seen. And yeah, I was pretty pissed for like 6 months.
Pissed why?
Because they kicked me out.
Right.
I thought I was really good. I was like, of course you're going to keep me. And then they were like, no, here's your check and there you go.
They kicked out loads of people though, didn't they?
They did kick out a few.
75% actually of the workforce.
But, in hindsight, so I don't want to end on too much of a negative here, Kerrie.
I've got more questions, don't worry.
Good. They are what they are, right? This is a private equity company. We took finance, we took money. Money has to get the money back, so they have to get sold. So it's going to end up being sold to somebody. So it was either going to be public, which we failed to do. We tried to go public, that didn't work out. Or we were going to get sold to somebody else. And it was probably going to be one of these type of companies, and that's what they do. Everything they said they'd do, they did. And they did it super transparently, and there was no bullshit. And WeTransfer got to a place where we were like 400 people, and it's just full of shit. People just promising stuff and not coming through, and lots of management conversations. And it just wasn't very authentic, and actually these guys are pretty authentic. I don't like what they do, but I do respect the way that they did it, and they said to everybody, we bought the company and 75% of you are going to get fired. And we were like, fuck, this is going to go down really badly. And everyone went, oh, okay, we know where we stand. How much are you going to get? And they worked out the best severance deal I've seen in Holland. No one's ever got better severance, I think. And it was just straight down the line. Okay.
So it was somewhat honourable.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a deal, unfortunately,
Yeah,
and
they
deals
stuck
are
to it,
deals.
and I don't know what happens to WeTransfer in the end, but I asked them to keep WePresent going. They kept it going. I asked them for some money for the sporting act to keep it going. They did it. It was okay.
So let's talk about positive acts of faith. When has a positive act of faith truly paid off? I'd love to hear some examples of that in your career where you've taken a leap of faith and it's come to fruition, either in a person, a company, a situation, a product.
Yeah, I mean, that feels like a bit of an interview question, like a job interview question.
Why do you want this job?
I can't think of one, so I'm gonna say the
Oscar. The Oscar is the greatest.
The Oscar
we
is
ever took.
that was crazy.
I mean, have you seen The Long Goodbye? Anybody?
Have you guys watched
Hands
it?
up if you've seen The Long Goodbye.
It's incredible. It's
So,
11 minutes. It's completely
my
worth it.
parents said, my son's here somewhere, I don't know if you can remember this, but we were in Scotland for Christmas, and my mum said, so what about that film? What about that film you made? It's Christmas Day. Why don't you put that film on? I was like, no, Mum, it's not a Christmas Day movie. Put it on. Come on, everyone wants to see a movie. Put it on. I was like, no, Mum, it's not a Christmas Day movie.
Did she think you'd made Happy Feet?
Yeah, I don't know. So we put it on. She goes, oh, Jesus.
What's wrong with you?
It's simply like uptight British.
So talk to us about that, because there's.
I got distracted.
Oh,
One
there's
second.
more,
Yeah,
right? There's more.
Yeah,
Okay.
hold on.
No, but what I wanted to add, just to complicate it, is there's a chapter on serendipity. In fact, it's the final chapter in the book, right? And I think that serendipity is different, which is actually what you say. It's different from luck. I want to talk about that in relation to the Academy Award. So I would love to know that whole story and how that came about. Were you already talking about it?
No, I know. It's funny you should say that. So Harris Elliott again takes us to 11
I don't
management.
know these people.
You should do. He's really cool.
Is he here?
He's got an OBE. I don't think so.
Okay.
He did all this music stuff with us, and Riz Ahmed was, or is a spoken word poet musician who was signed musically to 11 Management, which was Gorillaz. So we sort of knew Riz, but we knew him in a music capacity. And he dropped an email to WeTransfer saying, or his team did, saying, hey, I've got this idea for a film. It's pretty short turnaround, and it's about racism in post-Brexit Britain. Would you be up for doing it? And it was Riz, so, again, we were just like, yeah, great, let's do it. 75,000 euros. That's what we spent on making this film. And I mean, like, return on investment, the greatest return on investment we could have ever made. And as Andreas was getting to, we just backed him. It was like, we think it's a super important story. This was a heavy time in Britain when Brexit was happening, and people were just angry. And the film is about that uptight anger and that fear of what's going to happen next, particularly as like a Muslim Pakistani living in the UK. So he kept thinking at one point we're going to try and screw him over and make it about WeTransfer loves racism, or we're whatever. It's just going to be weird, and we just didn't do it. We just said, just do your thing. And he kept working harder and harder because I think we just left him to do his thing, and he just so badly wanted us to like it at the end. And of course, when we saw it, I loved it, but I had not shown anybody else in the company. So I thought, okay, I have a moment now to go and show the board this film, but it's quite heavy. Should we show them? No, we're definitely not going to fucking show them. So let's just keep it under wraps. We'll keep it under wraps. And it won an award. It won a Cannes line. It won blah, blah, blah. And then the board started saying, what's this film then? So we thought, okay, we'll show you. And everyone went, oh, fucking hell, that's brutal. And then it won an Oscar, and everyone went, oh, my God, I love that film. Oh, do you remember when we commissioned that? I was like, yeah, I do, actually, yeah. That's the greatest leap of faith that I think paid off in ways that we could never imagine. And still to this day, like, Riz and we're really good friends. We'll back him, or I would back him still in anything, and he still would check in and, how's the sporting act going? What can I do? It's very genuine altruism.
You have a wonderful way of putting it too, because it's also in just the way that brands work with artists. You said it was never a transaction. Your hope was always to build a relationship, maybe even a friendship. And I thought that was really naive, but I thought it was actually really beautiful
This was all a ruse to be mates
charming.
with Riz, wasn't it? Yeah,
75 grand.
You just bought his friendship.
75 grand gets you a Riz Ahmed's friendship.
It's amazing. He's quite cheap. When you think about it. We'll go to questions. I'm sure people have got questions. But I want to...
And drinks.
Yeah, at some point after book buying. As I said, there are steps. What's next for you both? What's next? I know that you've written books before. You've written a children's book. You've written another book. You made a game. I don't know. You made a game called, which I really want to play. It's called Megalomaniacs. So, you clearly are more than Mr. WeTransfer. What's next for both of you or either of you, individually?
I'll start because I think we should end with you. I continue to write. I don't know if I'll do another one of these again, but I really, really enjoyed it, and I continue to love writing about, brands and how they seek to build up connections with us. My partner and I have a brand positioning. It's consultancy. We work a lot with purpose-driven brands that are also kind of in emerging markets in India and Venezuela and places like that. So we're, I think part of it is I wanted to do this book because I wanted to learn a bit from Damian. I know he's kind of like a bit embarrassed that I say that, but I really feel that I have learned a lot. And so it's kind of pushing this ethos out in the world, that there's another way of building a company. It's absolutely fine to want scale. It's absolutely fine to have want to make a really successful brand that's everywhere and that has a lot of money and all that stuff. It's also great to build measured. It's great to build slower. It's great to build authentic connections with your customers, with your consumers, et cetera. And so a lot of the work that we're doing and going to do is in pushing this ethos through. So that's what I'm on.
Brilliant.
That's what I'm about, yeah.
Damien.
So my daughter has a job, but she doesn't go very often. So
You're going to job share?
I got pretty pissed off with her the other day and said, I think you got to go and fucking shut up for work, earn some money. You can't just keep bailing. And she turned around and she went, shut the fuck up, you're fucking unemployed. So I'm a gun for hire.
Wow. Wow, it's marvelous to be a hero to the youth, isn't it? I'm going to take one of these microphones, and if you've got a question, please put your hand up, and I will come to you. Keith is running away. He so doesn't want to ask a question. What's your name and where'd you come from?
Hi, I'm CJ, and I came from Los Angeles, but I also live in Amsterdam now. Just want to say, both of you guys are really fucking cool. And I was
enough.
No, hang on. But here's the question.
Carry on.
No, but this
Kerrie.
is so much more authentic than anything on YouTube or Masterclass or any bullshit. So please keep doing this and showing up in spaces if you can. That's my plea to you. My question is, and I wanted to tie what Kerrie just joked about in the beginning, which is a bunch of us are independent and a bunch of us are with agency and they're going to be independent soon. But
it wasn't a joke.
Well, it wasn't a joke. But one of the things about what you said about a company and when it gets large and there's a bunch of garbage in it and all that kind of stuff in the begin, I wanted to ask if you were going to put the band back together again, can you speak a little bit about what a company would look like with the vision that you had and that you built when it was like your badass baby? That would be really awesome.
To think of us as badass babies is hilarious.
You're not badass, you're badass.
Oh, okay, sorry. Question. No, I mean, I think about it all the time because, the route today, right, is, so you've got to start an AI business, because if you're not doing AI, then it's just not relevant. And then you've got to go and raise some money, and then basically you've got to hemorrhage that cash as fast as you possibly can. And the thing I actually liked about WeTransfer is that we had no money. We just took advantage of the opportunity in the market and hustled. And I hate the word hustle and hustle culture and that shit, but it's amazing, I think, what you can actually pull off when you can get the right energy in people. You don't need loads of money, and actually today with the tooling that's around, you don't need that much skills. You can do quite a lot by winging it, which we were quite good at. And I think like the dream team for me was like 20 people, maybe 30 maximum. But as soon as it got above that, it just gets messy. And I'm sorry if I offend managers here, but I just think that term is so archaic. It's literally been invented in the last century, but yet we believe that it's sort of a system that's been around forever. But the words capitalism, lower class, middle class, they didn't exist until 100 years ago. And I think we're so ready for change. Something has to change where we cut that out. I agree with Elon Musk on nothing, except for the fact that I think he does look at bloating and do something about it. Not in a good way, don't get me wrong, but he has a point. We need to get rid of that because I think that's really closely tied to mental health. I think they're really correlated.
And there's a question here. What's your name and where'd you come from?
I'm Mitchell from Amsterdam and London. I've got a question for Damian. What is something you haven't done during your WeTransfer time that you wish you had done?
Oh, I mean, how long you got? We did. I mean, I guess like the thing that we really did badly, but it was sort of it's sort of good but bad. Was that we were useless at telling our own story. You know, we so focused on everybody else that we really forgot to tell our own story. So I would get frustrated at myself half the time that I'd go in and I'd see somebody and then I'd have to fucking tell the story from the beginning because I'm talking to somebody who uses the service, but they don't know anything about us whatsoever. Like, I had this amazing friendship with Sir Ken Robinson, and he would just say, I love WeTransfer, I think it's amazing. And I'd say, do you really use it? He goes, all the time. And then I'd say, I'm running some ads for you at the moment. Have you seen them? He goes, have you got ads on WeTransfer? I only use it on mobile. I'd be like, oh God, what are you talking about then? You're just talking about this thing that you think we're wrapped up in, but you don't know. And we did a really poor job at getting the whole story across, telling the bigger picture. I think anybody that's worked at WeTransfer in the room would go, yeah, it could have been, should have been bigger. But then maybe it wouldn't have been as nice.
What's your name and where'd you come from?
Hey, it's Simon. Where am I from? I'm from UK, but I live here. I was going to say I'm from here. Right? Been so long. We work in an industry where there's a lot of bullshit, obviously, as everyone knows. Someone once told me the most important thing in this job is sincerity, and once you can fake that, you'll be fine. Which I thought was quite funny. But my question to you, because trust has come up quite a lot, and you've obviously been burnt, and you've had some great chances, and you also talked about hiring questions. The question, it is coming, is do you just have a natural bullshit detector, or do you have a kind of a question or a filter or a way of trying to suss out sincerity versus the bullshit?
Maybe Dre can start on that one.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I thought it was. I felt it was more directed at how he's. What would you say, Simon? Was that kind of more about how Damian looks at things in terms of the choices he made at WeTransfer, et cetera? I think so, right? Yeah, but I just don't really have anything.
I'd love to hear from you, Dre, because I think you have a point of view on bullshit and sincerity and how you detect it or not.
Yeah. Well, you read a lot, you know, you listen to a lot of podcasts. I think I'm a big believer in context. I think it's probably the thing that's accompanied me the most throughout my life. I was a journalist for many years early on, and that work is just contextualizing everything. And I think that once you make the effort, you begin to connect dots, and if, especially for me, what I love is I'm a generalist, and so for me it's always about kind of, you know, it's file sharing services, but it's also, you know, it's also a lab-grown diamond brand in India, and it's also a outdoors brand in America. It's just really kind of educating myself across the way, and then you begin to see patterns. You begin to see things that have been done over and over again, and to me that's very tiring and boring. And I find also being a journalist, you have to question authority, you question power. I would never ever imagine that I would be in this position now. I thought I would be a journalist for the rest of my life. I had no idea I'd be working in branding and marketing. So I think I bring a little bit of that, because at the end of the day, these are companies that are just really trying to get us to buy more shit, right? So.
And Damian?
I sort of forgot the question.
A bullshit detector.
Oh,
How do you polish your bullshit detector if it needs polishing?
Yeah. I don't
Nobody
know.
laugh. I was serious.
So maybe it's not answering your question, but I'm just going to wing it. We used to travel a lot and had no purpose. And what I mean is, we'd just go to London and then go and see what happened. And I think it was such a smart move, because we would just bump into people. You end up having meetings with people because somebody says, oh, you're in London, that's great, you should meet such and such. And when you'll have these people, everyone in Scotland, there's a couple of people when they say, hey, you've got to meet this guy, you're going to fucking love him or her. You just know, because that person is in your sort of trusted circle. But you don't get those things by going to meetings. Turning up to a meeting is suddenly something super transactional. So now, I've got to get my laptop out, I'm going to show you what I've got, and you're going to go, really, is that what you brought? You just serendipitously bump into somebody and you have a conversation. It's a completely different relationship. But we don't allow ourselves, and certainly companies don't allow you to just pay for travel to go somewhere just because you think it might be fun, and then you end up in a cinema. But you do need to create those moments.
Especially if you work independently on your own, from your own
100%.
home.
Yeah.
If any woman wanted to ask a question, I would feel so proud. What's your name and where'd you come from?
Hello, my name is Frederick. I'm from Amsterdam. And I have a question for Damian. You have a company, WeTransfer, free of use. And nowadays you see also companies like Canva. Do they use the same blueprint as WeTransfer, or is it totally different? I'd like to know.
I mean, so if you buy a copy of this book, the proceeds go to the Sporting Act Foundation, and then some of that would be in there. We didn't have a blueprint, so I don't think many people were copying our blueprint. Loads of people copied us. Literally, there is a file transfer service in China called Cow Transfer. It's exactly the same.
They transfer cows?
They should transfer anything in China.
Wow.
The UI design is exactly the same. But no, I don't think Canva's copying us. I think there was a moment for WeTransfer. I don't know that there's really a moment for that sort of product today. The environment in 2009, 10, 11, 12, 13 was totally different. I don't know about you, but it was all about exploration. So we were all excited to download shit and experiment and play on the internet, and that's sort of gone. So the establishment are just doing what the establishment knows, and it is the playbook of whatever VCs and PE need. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know what the place is that AI is going to take us to, but it would be nothing like WeTransfer, I think.
What's your name and where'd you come from?
Jason. I'm Jason. I live in Amsterdam, but I'm from the States originally. But I've been here 27 years. I have a two-part question. First question is, will you guys sign my book before you go? Your book. Will you sign your book before you go? Next one is, reading the book and hearing this and having worked a lot here, talk a lot about the founders, right? That sort of the personalities, the relationships, the serendipity aspect of it. There's a lot of independents in this room that are founding either their own company or other companies. How important was it that the founders, or not all of them stayed the whole time, but stuck around and kind of kept mixing the pot and making sure that the original thought behind WeTransfer stayed?
I mean, so I think WeTransfer was a bit weird like that because I believe that the elasticity of the brand was open really to a lot of people. It wasn't restricted to just the founding team. So the reason I know Dre is through a guy called Stephen Canfield in LA. I'd see Stephen as really a founding partner of the team, even though he joined like in 2018 or something. But he brought such fresh perspective to the company. I loved it. The energy he brought in was brilliant. And I think WeTransfer allowed people to be themselves and to bring something to the table. Airbnb, you're not going to get that chance. I mean, it's going to be mandated, dictated in a totally different environment, but that works. I don't like working, so ideally, I find brilliant people and then I take a step back and watch them excel. That's the nicest, most rewarding part of the job. So then I don't want to be micromanaging somebody 24/7. Ideally, you find somebody great and then you just let them get on with it. So then you have to have a different mindset, I think, when you start talking about setting up a company or working in a company.
And we're going to wrap with the last two questions. First one is here. What's your name and where'd you come from?
Hi, I'm Ellen. I'm from the States, but I've been here 4 years. I am not in tech. I'm a fashion designer who is looking to pivot, but Damian, you have this wisdom. And you have this. No, really,
especially at home.
Super. You have an ethos and you have a code. I wanted to know where you think it came from.
Did it come from your wife?
Yeah, yeah, from my children. I mean, so I used
Dre,
to
where do you think it comes from?
I used to work in advertising, and I think the best days in advertising were the early days that I worked there, and I worked with two guys, and they really gave us freedom. It was real freedom to make mistakes, honestly.
Where were you working?
Delaney, Lunnox, Warren. And they also understood how to have fun, so there was equal doses, I would say. My parents always believed in me, so I was quite lucky that I think they were always like, yeah, you can do that, why wouldn't you do it? Never really said you couldn't do it. But I would say that 99% of it is learning on the job. That I've been really lucky. I'll be honest, I didn't want to move to Holland. I married a Dutch woman and ended up here. But there's something I love about Dutch culture, which is this individualism, which I think does develop this sort of entrepreneurial mindset to a degree. And there is quite a lot of freedom here to just empower people. People want responsibility. People don't really want to be in massive teams. So a big part of it was learning on the job, learning through failure. But if I was going to do it again, like I said, 20 people, that's a sweet spot. Yeah.
Okay, last question. What's your name and where'd you come from?
Hi, my name's Sophie. I'm French, but I've been in Amsterdam for many, many years. My background is recruitment, agency side for many years, now recently brand side. And I have a question for you, Damian, about when you were looking for talent, not the artists that you work with, but the talent to build your own company. And I love that you said most of them didn't know anything about anything, but so what were you looking for? When did you think that person might be clueless, they're not an engineer, they're not anything, but I need them at WeTransfer?
Good question.
Right, so he said that, not me.
Well, we'll ask both of you.
Yeah. Like in the beginning, in a startup, you can't afford certain people. There are people that, many of you here have got real experience, you'd have been in the industry or whatever for X amount of years, and in a startup, when you're bootstrapping it, you can't afford any of that. And I also think there's a naivety that you didn't really know where to go and get it. So we were just going to, you met somebody nice and be like, oh, he looks pretty good. Can you draw? That's just how, how it rolls. The thing that I did really enjoy was that sometimes you just meet someone and you know that they're doing something that they don't enjoy doing and they should be doing something else. And you can see that they're intelligent enough, or you know that their background is intelligent enough to figure it out. and nothing we were doing was rocket science because we weren't engineers. We were just literally doing pictures. Then you just connect with someone and take a risk. And because we're not talking about massive amounts of money, it's not that hard. It just sort of made sense.
And Dre, what do you look for when what's the essence of are you looking at the CV? Are you looking at the spark in the room?
No,
What
absolutely.
is it? What is it when you?
No, CV is super important. I really understand that, but I think today, especially, in the age of automation and AI bots interviewing people and things like that, which is really odd. It's astonishing how much comes from just a network of authentic connections and real relationships. And I think most people are either specialists or generalists, and I think the generalists really enjoy bending in different directions and accepting new challenges. And I think it really, honestly, the work I did as a journalist opened up so much of this perspective in my life, and this is why I was able to do the book with Damian as well. Is just it's this ability to just ask questions, to really peel back the layers of somebody and really get to know them. You've been in recruitment for many years. You probably know this better than me, but authentic, real world connections matter a lot more these days. Can I say one thing, by the way, just in close?
Please.
Yes.
Do.
Okay. I just want to say. Damian and I wrote this book. It came out in April or May or something like that. We did a couple of launch events in London, and we were like talking to Soho House here, and they're like, we can fit you in. Can you do it Wednesday at like 6 in the morning? So it didn't work, and we're like, fuck it, we don't need it. Who cares? And we were just selling these books at cool bookshops. Athenaeum sold out a bunch of times. Zwartopit here on the Utrechtse and in London and LA, and so that was really fun and enjoyable for me to see that. But then we gave one of the books to Keith White, and Keith read it, and and he texted me in the middle of reading it, and he had a lot of questions, and then those questions, like, I don't know if you've ever been in WhatsApp connection with that dude, but it's pretty full on. Wow, really? You guys have that? Yeah. I'm like, okay, so
it gets painful.
Yeah, it's solid, right? But I have to say that we wouldn't be here without the energy of Keith and without the absolute vision and commitment. We had coffee some months ago, and he said, I'm trying out this new title. I think it's the right one for me. I want to call myself. I think it's called an opportunity architect. And I was like, it's fucking, I don't know, man, But then I watch him in action, and it's astonishing. So big round of applause for Keith White for putting this together. And thank you all for coming, for buying tickets. We do have drinks for that.
Thank you for saying everything I was about to say. You guys go off fucking piste. So, thank you to NIO House for letting us come and use the space. We hope you enjoy it. My big thanks to Keith White. You did way better. I would not have said so much. There was really no need to say half of it. I want to thank everybody for coming, because it takes two to tango, and it's not a conversation without you folks. And I want to thank especially the people who have asked the questions, because putting your hand up and putting your head above the parapet is always what I admire in anybody. So thank you for that. And there are going to be books that can be signed. When they say no, that's a joke. They don't mean it. They will sign your book. So just stand there until they do. All proceeds from the book sales does go to the Supporting Act. It's all for charity. So please buy 1, buy 5, buy 25. It all goes to a good cause, because some artists will just use it for drugs and windsurf.
What's wrong with that?
Yeah, and what's wrong with that? drugs and windsurfing. Finally, I want to say there will be drinks available. Do exactly what we said, what the guy said, which is about making serendipity work for you, and talk to each other. Talk to people you don't yet know. See where it goes. Finally, I want to give a big round of applause to Dre and Damian. And my name has been Kerrie Finch. Over and out. Is that fun?